Yeah, buddy, we are back. I am Peripheral, and welcome back to the channel. And just before we get into this movie review, I just want to say thank you to all the people that commented on the Us review. Really appreciate the support, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in, commenting, and also subscribing to the channel. So, the Highwaymen. So let's dive into this. So this was directed by John Lee Hancock, and this was also written by John Fusco. So, and the director, he's also done The Founder with Michael Keaton, and he's also done The Blind Side in 2008. So yeah. This was based on the Texas Rangers that were the people that hunt down Bonnie and Clyde. So our two co-leads in this film was Kevin Costner, who played Frank Hamer, and we had Woody Harrelson playing Manny Galt. These were two Texas Rangers that were assigned to go and assassinate Bonnie and Clyde. So, first things first, let's talk about the performances. Now, if you are an aspiring actor and you want to get into it, and you really it's your passion and you want to do it, I highly suggest you go grab your popcorn, you go grab your Pepsi, you drink whatever you drink, and you sit down and you watch these two veterans of the acting industry put on a masterclass. They were groundbreaking, in my opinion. Kevin Costner's just the story's kind of more so centered around him, but his characters, it's his way or the highway, kind of, and no shit kind of guy. And then we've got Woody Harrelson, who's kind of playing the quipping, funny guy. He's kind of like our comic relief in this movie, and they are a great duo with each other. So as far as their performances goes, they done an amazing job. Really speaking, they hit all the right notes for me, and so that concludes with the performances. Now let's talk about the direction in this film, the directing. This film. I think this film kind of goes hand in hand with the directing, with the cinematography, and the shots in this film are beautiful, in my opinion. They're just great. You really feel as if you are in the 1930s, everything from the product design, the costumes. You feel as if you're right there with them, and the kind of direction in this film, where this is not a film where it's on the antagonist side of Bonnie and Clyde. We've seen many renditions of it. This is more on the detective side of how these two Texas Rangers found them, and I think they've done a great job of showing them as seasoned veterans in the police force. They've done an amazing job, and it just shows just how 2 steps ahead they were. Without these guys, you can watch the film for yourself. Without these guys, those two serial killers would not be found. And that's a fact. So the movie really does show and shines an eye on these two individuals and just how seasoned and just how good they are at their jobs. But yeah, directing overall just very decent and very solid. Yeah. Now let's move on to the writing, and this is where I kind of feel as if this is where a lot of people are going to be having this hitch with this film, because essentially, when you look at a film conventionally and hypothetically, you're meant to kind of, as an audience member, as viewers, we want to empathize with the characters with the first, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes to feel empathy, to root for them. And you don't necessarily get that, because with this film, it goes at its own pace. It doesn't, in a sense, it doesn't follow all of the conventional tools of how you are to write a live action film. It doesn't follow it whatsoever. And I can see with the fact that, because it's like this, I can see why people have been given in negative reviews and kind of been saying, oh, it's boring, it's this, it's that. But at the same time, I kind of feel like this is the same problem that we had with Bohemian Rhapsody. There was a lot of people that were saying that there wasn't enough continuity in the film. Oh, you know, when Freddie Mercury, there was this whole debate about in the film that they got the timeline wrong with Freddie Mercury supposedly being diagnosed with AIDS at the wrong time in the film. You know, but essentially, I find it very hard to bash a film if they're trying to stick in continuity, supposedly, with the actual events. So what's essentially happening is everybody wants that good story to be told, but that story does not cater to the Highwaymen, essentially. And it's not their fault in a sense, you know, because what kind of happens is we get these two. You'll notice them straight away, because we get the scene with Kevin Costner in near the end. It's very odd. It comes in the second act of the film, and he actually goes to the father of Clyde, and it's kind of from his point of view, without spoiling anything about the film, showing that empathy, showing that Kevin Costner's character is flawed and the amount of things that he's had to go through. You know, you hear it, you're like, really? Like, you're thinking to yourself, there is no difference between Frank Hammer and Clyde, really, you know? But it's only just because he was able to find the right path, in a sense. And that scene was amazing. Had that scene have happened in near the first 10 minutes of the film, everybody would be jumping up and down saying, oh my God, this is one of the best films of the year so far, in my opinion. And then a very unusual kind of similar thing happens with Woody Harrelson's character. Going into the third act, we then find out how flawed he is. But because it comes so late in the film, it's kind of, I think by then people have kind of switched off from the film, and essentially they're just watching two detectives going around trying to find Bonnie and Clyde, failing here and there. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, had those two character arcs been in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the film, there wouldn't be this upheaval, and there wouldn't be this, people wouldn't be feeling this void with this film whatsoever. They'd be loving it. So that concludes that. Cinematography was great as well. Again, it goes hand in hand with the directing of this film, and man, one word: composition. I mean, if you're a young cinematographer, you're wanting to do it, watch this film, please. And when you've done watching it a first time, watch it a second time, and then if you really like it, watch it a third time, because the shots in this film, John, who's it? John Schwartzman. He's also done cinematography for Pearl Harbor as well. This guy, amazing, brilliant. He done a fantastic job, you know. But on the whole, for this, I'd say. On one more thing, the ending. I think the ending, in a way, really saves itself. You know, it saves itself because we kind of see that, you know, with these bad people and serial killers and all this type of stuff, is that the actual victims, when you really draw a line in the sand, if you look at all these biopics based on serial killers and murders, is that the way that they're then treated when they pass away, it's actually quite sad, because the amount of attention they get for what hideous crimes they've done, it's just like beyond me. It's so sad. It's, you know, so whimsical, you know, and you got all these poor innocent people that are being killed, and none of them are essentially being remembered through history. I think it's something that was hinted in the film, and you kind of see that, you know, Bonnie and Clyde were looked at as idols for a lot of people, you know, and you kind of see near the end that, you know, where do our loyalties actually lie in society, you know? And it's just crazy, you know, when you look at, I mean going a bit off topic, but if you look at Ted Bundy, and then on his day of his actual death penalty, you had people outside with banners and people selling merchandise on the day of his death, doing all this crazy stuff, you know. And when you think about all those young women, those victims, they didn't have 20,000 people coming out there to remember them. So I think this film draws an eye on the fact that we are giving these people too much attention, in a sense, when these victims, there's no light being shined upon them. They're literally then forgotten about the next day. So yeah, to conclude this, I would give this film a 7.5. In my opinion, it's a good film. It's a good film. And nearly the end, the actual scene where they catch Bonnie and Clyde, that was epic. That was very good. I enjoyed that. They done something that I've not seen in films before. Like, they done this soundscape thing with the crickets being the suspense in the scene. I thought that was sick. I've not seen many filmmakers try that idea before. But yeah, solid film. Give it a solid 7.5. And look, I definitely recommend. It's a Netflix film. Watch The Highwaymen. If you can look beyond it, and this is a film that's trying to tell its story, you'll enjoy it very much. At least watch it for the performances of Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner, because they blow out the park. So yeah. Okay, that concludes this movie review. Bada bing, bada boom, 100 subscribers. Let's go, baby.